Hey guys, welcome to episode number 402. Today is Monday, so it's Update Monday, and it's a late night down here in the fish room, Monday night football night, and what I'm up to is replacing my LED lights with my new LED shop lights. And because I've gone through a couple different iterations, you've seen videos of me building all of these, I wanted to just quickly talk about the two generations of LED lights here that I've built and compare them to the LED shop lights so you guys can get a sense for the decisions that I made and what I found worked, what didn't exactly work, and what I learned as a result of playing around with these. So this right here is the first LED light that I built. You can see that it's a primed board. It's a pine board. It came pre-primed. So all I needed to do was stick my LED light reels down to it. I have 4 strips of LED lights. It's about 6 feet long, and I think that took a reel and a half, or maybe 2 reels. The first thing that was sort of problematic was over time, and especially if they heated up, sometimes they tended to bow out, and the sticky back wasn't quite as sticky anymore. And so you see some of them are like coming up a little bit here. So what I had to do to sort of improvise to make sure that they didn't fall off completely was just to take a small piece of electrical tape and wrap that all the way around the board to make sure that those lights, even if they lost their stickiness, would stay on the board. So you'll see I have some black tape at various intervals here to make sure that that all worked. The next thing that I did was I do have a board here which connects each of these strips together, and everything is soldered. I have these wires here which are sort of attached to the end that's giving this power. I've got the CCTV plug here, and that all seemed to work out fairly well. However, there is electricity here, and there is, exposed wood here. And the length of these lights essentially means that you're creating excess heat because it's difficult to push the electricity down a very long length of LEDs. If you just have like a strip of LEDs that's like a few inches long, it's not going to heat up nearly as much as if you have a very, very, very long run of LEDs. So what I found happened was these LEDs heated up quite a bit, not to the point where it was going to cause a fire or anything like that, but in the end I found that the wires actually heated up quite a bit, and they actually melted some of these plugs. If I can get it to focus, it melted some of these plugs, and so I think a couple times I had to replace these plugs because it was having such a hard time sending the power all the way down. So I do like the primed board. I think that's a pretty good choice to mount these LED strip lights on, these reels of LED lights. However, if you were going to do a project like this, I would recommend that you keep the length of your light, the run of your light, a little bit shorter than 6 feet. I think something like 4 feet would be fine. 2 feet, 3 feet would be even better. So that's what I learned from this first generation of board. The second generation is the exact same strip light. And you'll notice that the only difference here is that instead of 4, I went with 5 rows of lights. And that was because I wanted to get a little bit more light output. But again, I've got all my boards connected at the end. They're all soldered. I've got wires here. And it's very similar to the first light. However, you will notice that it's quite a bit slimmer. If we compare it down here, you can see this is the primed board, pretty thick, and then this is very, very low profile, very sleek. And the way that I achieved that was I used an aluminum bar, and aluminum is conductive. So you know, these LEDs are also conductive. And the challenge there was, you know, I needed to create a gap, a layer between the LEDs and the aluminum bar to make sure that I wasn't just going to short my lights out the second I plugged them in. So if you look down here, what I did was I ended up spraying a high heat grill paint onto the aluminum surface, and then I was able to lay out my LED lights and stick them to that surface, and that tended to work pretty well. There was one or two cases where I did get a short when I was testing it with a multimeter before I plugged it in, and so I had to sort of figure out where that was happening, which is sort of a pain in the neck, and fix that. So it wasn't an ideal situation. The positive point to this was because it's a giant stick of aluminum, it acts as a giant heat sink, and so even though it's the same length, it's like, you know, 5 or 6 feet here, it actually stayed quite a bit cooler because it was able to dissipate that heat because the aluminum acted as a giant heat sink. A lot better of a heat sink than a piece of wood. So the thinking here was aluminum is not going to melt, it's not going to catch fire, so the worst that could happen is, you know, my light could short out. And that seemed to be a little bit more appealing than this, which might have run a slightly higher risk of, you know, fire hazard. The thing that I didn't like about this is the fact that it was so finicky. You know, any little scratch in the paint could cause a short, potentially. So, you know, it was a nice experiment. It was neat, but it wasn't something that I was ultimately happy with in the long run. I had tested a few other different variations of these LEDs in different configurations, but I never landed on something that I really liked. Now, I will note that these LEDs, both of these, worked fine, perfectly fine, for a period of about 2 years. And, you know, that's the rack that it was set up on over there. The lights are out. It's time for the fish to go to bed. But, yeah, these lights worked fine. So I didn't have any problems with these, but they did have inherent risks and challenges built in. Essentially, what I've done now here, and if you check out some of my recent videos, is I've upgraded my old shop lights to LED shop lights, and it was just a matter of time before the LED reels, which are readily available and super cheap, were basically transformed into a bulb form, which plugged into your shop light receptacles. And so I have a bunch of these shop lights laying around, and I was just waiting for these bulbs to get to the point where the cost was low enough for me to pick them up and to attach them to my aquariums. So what I've done is I went ahead and took all of my old DIY LED lights off of this rack, and I've started to affix these LED shop lights to that rack. So that's what I'm in the middle of doing down here late at night. So what do I like about these shop lights? Well, first, everyone's got shop light fixtures, and with a little modification, you can go check out one of my recent videos. You can take these LEDs and put them into an existing fixture that you have. Now obviously a fixture like this is not super low profile. I'm sure you can find a T5 light rig that's a lot slimmer in profile, and obviously it's nowhere near as low profile as these DIY LED lights, but you know, it does come with the added guarantee that it's essentially UL certified, it's grounded correctly, and there's really no chance that it's going to cause any harm, not really a fire hazard at all. And it's so large, and there's so much metal there that the whole thing is a giant heat sink, and it's not going to heat up barely at all. The other thing that I like is these are 4 feet instead of the 6 feet, so they stay a little bit cooler. Well, we don't have as many rows of LEDs. We just have 2 bulbs, 1 strip per bulb, and the output of those LEDs is a little bit higher. I also think the quality of the LEDs is a little bit higher. These are mounted on a solid aluminum strip, and these are mounted on just like a flexible strip. And yeah, so the point is these bulbs got down to the point where it was worth it to transition over onto them instead, and that's what I've done. One other thing I like is that these bulbs, you can get them frosted, you can get them clear, you can get them different color temperatures. The price point is now affordable, and these things are basically, I wouldn't say they're waterproof, but they're definitely water resistant. If you've got any splashing in your aquariums, this is just a piece of plastic, and then it's aluminum on the back, and it's pretty much sealed. The ends are exposed a little bit, so like if you get splashing in the wrong place, or if these are like right on top of your aquarium, you're gonna have an issue. But I'm planning on suspending these, you know, 6 to 8 inches above my aquariums, and they shouldn't have any problems whatsoever with the humidity and with splashing. So anyways, those are the 3 different versions of LED lights that I have down here in the fish room. These 2 are now being retired. It was a good project, a good experience, but I'm happy to say that I have transitioned into something that's a little bit more professional looking, even though it's not quite as DIY heavy. I'm sure these lights will last for a very, very, very long time. So anyways, guys, that's what I'm up to down here in the fish room. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you watched my recent video about my heater contest, congratulations to Mike L. He won the heater contest. I randomly selected him to win that heater contest, so I'll be sending those heaters to him in time for the holidays. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later.